yesterday there was, while I was in Denver, they had quite a conversation about the blaze on Capitol Hill. There were hearings about the Comcast merger, and there were a few voices that spoke out. Farrenhold, Tom Marino from Pennsylvania, Mike Lee, and Louis Gohmert. And Louis Gohmert was the one. I'm in the middle of a meeting, and someone passes their phone over to me to see. And I read this transcript and couldn't believe it. I've not heard the audio yet, but listen to what Louis Gohmert said to the head of Comcast yesterday.
I was part of a hearing some years back in California, a field hearing before the NBC Comcast merger, and there were questions raised, concerns about potential for hurting compatibility. But since then, more recently, it was reported, of course, people took note that Al Gore was pushing the sale of Current TV, and Glenn Beck, the Blaze, were trying to buy it. And it was reported that Al Jazeera wanted to get their Sharia law push into the United States, and they were willing to pay big bucks, regardless of whether it had oil and carbon all over the money. They were willing to pay big dollars, but they wouldn't do the deal unless Comcast was willing to keep them in its list of networks provided. So it was reported Comcast agreed, so Al Gore got all that oil and carbon-based money. And then that kept Glenn Beck off the air and of Comcast. Then more recently, the Blaze has been trying to purchase another network that was reported to owe $20 million to Comcast, but that the feeling by some within Comcast was so strong about keeping Glenn Beck off the air that some reportedly were willing to forego $20 million that the Blaze offered to pay of this network's debt owed to Comcast just to keep them off the air. Now, I have no idea who the network is. They won't say. They have some kind of deal about that. But I was given a blurb from an email that indicates, and this is an email from somebody at whatever network it is, it's somebody at the Blaze. It says, I want the ability to argue for Comcast. He's trying to get the deal accepted by Comcast, that they will not have to put, quote, Glenn Beck on the air prior to the 2014 election cycle, unquote. That may sound hard-nosed, but inside of that organization, talking about Comcast, there are some people who will see it that way. So December 1st accomplishes that. So that would get the deal after the November elections. And this blurb was provided. There is too big a risk, in my view, of getting a flat no from Comcast if they smell the possibility that you intend to use the full Blaze platform to influence the American voters this November. Sorry, that's how they feel about you. I don't, but they do, and they're the ones who have to approve it. Now, we heard Mr. Jeffries appropriately. He's a smart guy. He brought up the issue of fiduciary duty. And I'm wondering how strong the feeling within Comcast of their fiduciary duty to stockholders is for monetary gain as opposed to political achievements of keeping conservatives off the air. We've heard the discussion about rural not being part of the push by Comcast. And I get that. Why would Comcast want people that cling to God and their guns? But what we're talking about here is a very serious issue if we're at the point where there is so much power within Comcast that they can say, we're not going to accept the $20 million that will help Comcast because we don't want Republicans having conservatives talking on the air between now and then. Mr. Cohen, do you have a comment?
Oh, sorry. Should I do Al Jazeera current first, and then I'll do the Blaze?
No, I don't think you need to comment on that. Let's talk about the Blaze and your feeling personally.
I don't think I have a problem identifying the network I'm using about this.
Well, I have no idea who it is.
Because it's interesting that network happens to be RLTV, which comes up in the discussion around RFD as well. That's a network in which we have an 8% ownership interest. We have no management rights. We have no ability to control the sale of that network. You're reading.
No, the issue is, do you allow the purchaser to continue to be on Comcast?
Right,
because that can kill the deal, just like Al Jazeera.
The question is the content description under the RLTV contract with us, and that is a content description that does not include news coverage or political commentary. But let me be clear. You read an email, presumably from someone at RLTV, who's allegedly reflecting the position of someone at Comcast. I will represent to you, and I will tell you right now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to confirm this. I will represent to you that there is no judgment being made about carriage of the Blaze based upon political perspective, and certainly absolutely no judgment about whether that network should be on our cable systems before or after the election.
Mr. Cohen, you're a smart man and apparently a smart attorney. You understand the consequences of not speaking truthfully before Congress.
I do.
Thank you. I see my time's expired, and I look forward to you having that conversation.
So stop. Do you have Tom Marino or Mike Lee or is it worth playing? I mean, because they were all. I mean,
these are much shorter.
Farrenhold came in afterwards, and he came in and he pretty much asked the same thing. So I just want to make sure, because you're under oath here, I want to make sure that you're representing this correctly. I think it's interesting that Congress and these four gentlemen went in with very clear objective and pinned Comcast down to a very clear set of answers on how things are described, and I think it's very interesting. And
they seem to get a pretty clear-cut black and white answer out of it.
Sure does.
Sure does. That's interesting.
So it would be anyway. We bring this to your attention because you are involved in helping us put the Blaze all across the country, and we just want you to. I want you to rely on the power of God and not the power of man. And know that there are no hiding spaces in the world, and to do things with exactness, and that should be for all of us. It's when you don't do things exactly right that you find yourself in perhaps deep trouble. And I think it is amazing that we have seen all of these stories come out. I mean, I think, what was it, the Washington Post or the New York Times that came out and said, in a nutshell, Comcast has purchased Congress, that they were not afraid of anyone or anything. Think of the...
Well, he sure didn't sound afraid of anybody.
He sure didn't.
And it's pretty obvious he didn't purchase Louis Gohmert, Mike Lee, Tom Marino, or Blake Farrenhold. The rest of Congress, I don't know, but he didn't get those four guys.
Yeah, and it's amazing because they have been talking about how arrogant these guys have been on Capitol Hill, and believe me, with our conversations with certain cable companies, they have been more than arrogant. It's nice to see that there are some people in Congress who have not been purchased. We're grateful that they're not just going after this particular case, but we know that these guys also go for the truth on everybody. And I will tell you that it has really caused some sleepless nights when this Comcast merger came into play, because I will tell you now, make no mistake, a Comcast-Time Warner merger is really bad for your voice. Really bad for your voice. Any independent, I can tell you this, a man can go start his own network and be successful. I was in somebody's office yesterday who said, Glenn, you and Oprah Winfrey are probably the only people you're the only people in the world who have done it and the only people who could have done it. And I beg to differ. Oprah Winfrey did it with the Discovery Networks and everybody else. We did it ourselves. We have built this with nothing. And so I give you hope that whatever it is you want to do, you can still do in America. However, what's caused me sleepless nights is there still are gatekeepers. And I can't get onto your television box, no matter how much we will show people. Like, we'll go to people with Comcast, and we will say, if you're a Comcast subscriber, in our emails that go out, we'll say, if you're a Comcast subscriber, will you tell Comcast that you will cancel if they don't carry the Blaze? And we get tens of thousands of responses, and we'll bring it to them and say, these people with you can look them up, you can see your subscribers, they have said they will cancel if you don't. We don't want to ask them to cancel. We don't want to be those ugly people. We don't want to play, carrot and stick. We're just saying this is how passionate they are, because they will say that it's not going to matter to them. It doesn't matter. Nobody's listening. Nobody's viewing. Nobody wants it. We know what the deal is. We know how many people there are. And they're choosing, some of these companies, for whatever reason, they're choosing not to do it. We want you to know that you can make a difference. You can accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. But when it comes to an industry that is pure government regulation, it's not like we're asking for regulation on something that isn't regulated. If you want to talk about deregulation, let's talk about deregulation. Government out of the cable industry. Get them out of the cable industry. And you know why I say that? Because then I'll start my own damn cable company, one that will not have all of these huge packages. We'll let you choose which networks you want. We'll completely redesign it, and we'll redesign it for a contemporary world where you have ultimate choice. So government, get the hell out of the way, and we'll give people choice, but that's not in the cards today. What's in the cards today is more control from a single owner. More control. Not more control for you, more control for them. And I'm sorry, but anybody who's having golf games with the President of the United States every weekend, or so it seems, when he's on vacation, he goes to have golf games with him. I'm sorry, I just don't buy into your, there's no political bull crap. I don't believe that for a second. And I would just make sure that everyone is operating in exactness, because now you're messing. Louis Gohmert he's got a twitchy eye. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that.
Yes.
Utica, New York. Hello, Steve.
Yes, sir, Mr. Beck. I just wanted to tell you that I've been an advocate for the Blaze on Time Warner Cable here in Central New York for as long as you've been on television, and they won't even give me the time of the day. The other day I called and I told them, we were talking about something else, and I said, you know what, I've worked hard all my life. No one gave me a dime. No one gave my wife a dime, and she's doing well. I'm doing well. And everybody else around me, not everybody, but quite a few people think we're bad people because we're doing okay. And the fact is, I want to keep abreast of my information that I have very little time when I'm home. I'm always overseas. So I tune into you, and I tune into your website. And, I want it on television. And they just laughed at me. And I literally told them, why do you have Al Jazeera when there's 15,000 viewers and there could be 15 million viewers on the Blaze? And they just laughed. I said, and then I threatened them, and I said, I'll go to Dish. I'll go to somebody else. They said, go for it. They could care less.
They really couldn't, Steve. I mean, really, some of these places
for a long time, and you're one of the few honest people that I don't even know you, and I'd let you hold my wallet. I really give you a lot of credit, and I thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. And if you have a lot of credit cards in there, you could pass your wallet my way anytime you would like to.
And don't let him hold the wallet near Dunkin' Donuts.
Steve, thank you. It's high praise indeed, and I appreciate it. And